Hello, everyone. Welcome to Clarity 16.1.0 Supportability and Feature Training. My name is Dave Sprague. In this section, we will review adoption and usability enhancements. We'll also cover Clarity updates in support of our ongoing accessibility initiative. I'd like to start out with a reminder. Following Clarity 16.0.1 release, which occurred in May of 2022, the team completed the VPAT certification process, which indicates conformance with Section 508, the Main Accessibility Act for the U.S., WCAG 2.1, Levels A and 2A success criteria, and the EN 301549 standard, which is the European standard for digital accessibility. As a reminder, part of this process, Clarity's accessibility initiative is focused on the modern user experience and those capabilities available in the configurable grid. Clarity's VPAT document can be accessed from the product documentation site under the Accessibility Features in Clarity section. It should be noted that Clarity's accessibility effort is never truly complete, but we have a roadmap in front of us with a near-term target to attain a second VPAT or our version 2.0 VPAT based on Clarity 16.1.1, which will occur in February of 2023. You can see where we are right now, and we have several items prioritized for the next development cycle that initiates in early November 2022. So what's new? From a usability perspective, the following updates have been included in this release. First up, there is a new user option to display the flyout either on the right side of the page, which is the current behavior, or the bottom of the page in a horizontal position. Next, a new user configuration option is available to set the project banner color to none, quite often to be used to comply with corporate branding standards. Also, an improved navigation experience is in place where Clarity maintains or remembers item selection as a user navigates away from the page and returns within the same session. So if you were to log out and log back in, it would not remember those item selections. And so basically, as the user navigates from page to page and returns, Clarity remembers where the user left off. And lastly, but not least, from an accessibility perspective, reported issues across 12 WCAG success criterion have been remediated in this release. So why is this important? Well, first, the Clarity UX and development teams continue to deliver on the promise to improve the overall visual and usability experience in many functional areas. From the accessibility perspective, each of those improvements are needed to drive adoption. Organizations demand that software vendors comply with accessibility standards to ensure that all Clarity users have proper access to perform day-to-day tasks. Each of the improvements considers the four pillars of visual and responsive design, keyboard navigation, and screen readers. As I mentioned, the Clarity team is on the path to obtain version 2.0 of its VPAT certification. As mentioned, Clarity's VPAT version 1 is currently available as of May 2022. And our next major goal is to complete the VPAT version 2 process immediately following February 2023 Clarity release. So what's changed from a usability perspective? So there is a new user option to display the flyout either on the right side of the page, which is the current behavior, or at the bottom of the page in a horizontal position, as you see on this page in view. There's also a drag handle to increase screen real estate for the flyout or the main content portion of the page. Just slide that up and down. This horizontal view is very useful if the user is working with grids or sub-objects with multiple columns and data, such that the flyout positioned on the right side of the page or in that vertical position forces the user to scroll and possibly lose context as they navigate around. So as you can see in the upper right, there is a control there, very simple control to either close the flyout altogether or position it on the right or on the bottom of the page as we see here. There is an additional color option for the project banner. When none is selected, the banner basically has the same color or UX treatment as ideas and custom investments and custom objects. Customers requested this modest change so they could comply with corporate branding standards. Clarity has improved the user navigation experience such that Clarity maintains or remembers item selection as the user navigates away from a page and returns, again, within the same session. In this example, when a user navigates between a project, the selected task module, and even selected task assignments presented in the flyout to the risk module, to an issues module, or even off to a custom object such as objectives. Clarity remembers the user selections as the user navigates from one page to the other and returns to either of these pages. Again, this is just an example, but in the 1603 release, each time the user returned to either one of these pages, Clarity did not remember the selection, which required the user to select the items again. So what's changed from an accessibility perspective? As you know, during the VPAT version 1 process in May of 2022, our third-party assessor provided the Clarity team with a report containing issues that required remediation. The team prioritized the issues, and the percent of reported issues associated with their respective WCAG success criteria are captured on this slide. In other words, just over half of the reported issues are associated with WCAG 4.1.2, and we will use the next quarter to remediate these issues. We've actually dedicated, if you look at the cycle here, we've dedicated 3 quarters of work to that. The release does include updates for each WCAG success criterion noted in the 16.1.0 column on this slide. So you may ask, when will the remediation complete for a given success criterion? The Clarity team will continue with its remediation through next quarter in each of the identified success criterion. For example, no additional remediation was done for WCAG 1.43, 1411, or 1413. However, we are going to pick up 143 in the next quarter. Of course, an accessibility program is never truly complete, but this table captures the near-term remediation plan from an accessibility perspective for each of the impacted WCAG success criterion. So as mentioned, this release includes updates across multiple success criterion, and remediation for a given impact area spans multiple success criterion as well. So I'm not going to go through the whole slide in detail. This table can serve as a reference for Clarity administrators or users. For example, the last item in the table is another example of work that ensured the screen reader can properly announce a page refresh is occurring and the number of records returned when search criteria is entered by the user. I'll prepare a slide for this I'll prepare a slide like this for the next release as well, so you have visibility to impacted areas and their respective updates. So let's move on to the demonstration. I'm going to show you the usability capabilities here for positioning the flyout on either the right side or the bottom of the page in a horizontal position. We'll take a look at the new color option for the project banner, and we'll kind of walk through that improved navigation experience where Clarity remembers item selection as a user navigates away from a page and returns. So let's get into the demo. So I'm just starting on the tiles page. one thing I want to do, I'll just go into my custom object area and go into objectives. This is where objectives and key results are being managed. You can see I've selected a particular objective, and the flyout contains the key results for that a single objective and various other metrics. How am I progressing? What was I starting with? What's my target and where am I now? Some other information. And you can see this is positioned at the bottom of the page, and I can either, drag or move this grab that drag handle and create more real estate as I need. And I can just switch it to the right as well. Now you can see in this position, I do have to scroll to get to other details, or I could expand the flyout on the right, but it starts covering up other information. So this new ability to switch it to the bottom is quite handy. Gives us more access to additional information or columns that are there in the grid. I'll give you another example here. I'll just come back to projects, and we'll go into the ARD project. We'll click on the tasks module, and you can see I've got a selected task, and it's multiple tabs that are here that show different information. And I'm on the assignments tab, and of course there's my assignments and the various information associated with those assignments, etc., actuals, etc., for that selected task. Now again, if I move my flyout to the right, I still have the same information. It just requires me to scroll a little bit. So again, the ability to flip the flyout to the bottom position is pretty useful when you're looking at tables and trying to consume multiple bits of information. Okay, so while that's the flyout, pretty straightforward, quite a handy feature. The next thing I'll talk about is the basically the color. You can see there's a banner at the top of this, and a banner color is only afforded to the project investment type. In other words, custom investment types or ideas and custom objects don't have a color capability. We're looking at that in the future as a kind of a generic way to provide color options for that banner, but right now color options are only afforded to the project investment. And my banner color, this has been configured as a choice on the properties module, and you'll see a new color here just called none. If I go ahead and select that, it's updated immediately, and I've basically returned a white background there, which is now consistent with ideas, custom investments, and custom objects. So that helps customers, if they don't want to select any of these particular colors and they have some other corporate branding standards that they want to comply with, they can just select that menu option, and life goes on. It's pretty modest, but again, a nice feature. The next thing I want to talk about is how the system now remembers where you were. So let's come back to, as you navigate away, it kind of remembers the selections that you've made on prior pages. So we'll go ahead and select this ARD payments module in the project timeline view, right? Or I'll just pick that. Now I'll go to the board, and the board will also remember that. It is highlighted here. You can see it there. As I go to the grid, you will also notice that information is also highlighted. See, it's there highlighted. So let's go a little bit deeper. We'll go into this project itself. We'll go to the task module, and I've got a selected task, and the assignments module has been selected already. So it did remember that we were there from a prior step. But just recall that this is a task module, a specific task, and the assignments for that task have been selected. So let's just go over to risks. I've got a particular risk selected, and the to-dos for that risk are now in view. And again, I'm using that flyout in the bottom just as an example here. If I go to issues, I've got a particular issue selected and the details module is in view for that particular issue. So let's go back to tasks, and we're going to recall where I was. I don't have to reselect anything. Task assignments for that task. If I go back to risks, it's going to remember that I was on a specific risk, and the to-dos module was also available for that particular risk. Likewise, if I go back to my custom objects and go to objectives, if you recall, we were on this page earlier. So remember, we had selected a specific objective and it was showing those key results. I'll just go back into projects real quick and show you that we'll go to the payments module. I'll just go back to risks as an example. And there it is. It's remembered where we were when we last visited this area, that particular risk and the to-dos. So just a few examples of the system remembering where you are. Quite a powerful feature is from a time-saving perspective. I no longer have to go, reselect these things and position them each time I come back. In the prior release, it just wouldn't remember any of these things. So a nice addition from a usability perspective. So this concludes the usability adoption session, including clarity updates in support of our ongoing accessibility initiative. So I want to thank you for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.